Morning, guys. I'm very happy to see all of you here, and especially I'm told that 2 busloads or 3 busloads of students have come from Pune, which is where I'm from. So I'm really kicked that I've seen some guys from Ferguson, which is my college. So I'm more than happy to welcome all of you. You know, when about, I think 6 months ago, I met someone very interesting, and as Sangram was saying, I have been privileged to have access to very many interesting people. And about 6 months ago, I met this spiritual master, and I was curious what he had to say. And one of the things that he was saying, and somebody had told me that here's this spiritual master who's in Switzerland, and he specializes in astral travel. So I was curious. I said, really, astral travel? Traveling out of your body and things like that. So I met him, and we got chatting, and he had lots of wise things to say. But what interested me most was he said, you know what, you don't need this astral travel at this point in time or whatever. The dream that every man has, or mankind has, besides going to the moon and having all these lofty dreams, one of the dreams is being able to actually travel in time. And he said, you can travel in time, in today's time. So I said, really, how? So that's where he started telling me a story that in today's time, you can go to remote parts of the world, whether it's in India, and you can see a village where you feel that these people are living maybe 100 years behind time. You can go to maybe South America and certain parts, and you can actually feel as these guys are living maybe 3,000 years behind in time. You can go ahead in time. You can go to the US. You can go to any developed country, the Silicon Lab or the MITs or NASA, and suddenly you feel that, you know, these guys are probably 50 years ahead of time. Within our own state or wherever, you have all these new auto hubs coming in, you have these robotics, engineering. I remember 10 years ago, or I think maybe 15 years ago, I was at the MIT lab and I was with Microsoft visiting their research lab. And they showed us this table on which, you know, you could move things. And we were fascinated. We said, my God, what is this? They said, any screen can be a computer. And 10 years later, you had this iPad, the iPod. It became a reality. The point is that when you look at progress and you say that, look, China is maybe 20 years ahead of time relative to India, or the US is, parts of US are ahead of time in terms of maybe 50 years or 60 years, it's all relative to time that you are present in. If you're in the villages and you don't have access to the digital world, you can be might as well living 50 years behind time. So what does all this mean? The point is that we have to catch up to this developed world. We have to ensure that if we are progressing, we need to be present in the right time. The point is, it took me 20 years to reach a stage that I have reached today. I was in college, and I had ideas. But when I was in the first year, when I came up with this idea that I wanted to organize this huge festival, I used to play the drums. I love the drums. And we wanted to have this rock band, and we wanted to play and do things. And I went to my principal, and he said, no, 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 no. You can't do that. Not because he wasn't fond of music. He just didn't understand the concept. I had other ideas. I wanted to organize an industrial exhibition and things like that. But I was in the first year, so I was told by my seniors that, no, 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 you can't do this. So I waited second year, third year, and finally when I was in my final year in engineering, that's when I could realize my dream, and we launched one of the most successful events in my college, made a huge sum of profit for my college, and I realized that, 4 years, I just had to wait because I was a junior. I was not a senior. So when people told you that you can't do this because you're young, it's something that we all have been living through, no matter which generation you're from. When I started my business, I was always told, no, you can't do this. So I said, good luck, I got this idea. I actually took 10,000 rupees from my father and I moved out of my home. So when I moved out of my home, the reason I did it was because I didn't want to use any of my family contacts or my father's resources or whatever. So I moved out. I had this friend of mine from school. He was a very huge Sardarji, and his father was a teacher in the NDA. And he said, look, don't join Abhijit, because if you guys fail, this guy can go back to his father. What are you going to do? Get a job in that time, Patheja Forgings. But we both were crazy enough. We said, no, failure is not an option. Let's start our business. And we started from his own study, from his own bedroom. And I took my study table from my room and I went there. And since then, from absolute scratch, we started and we built a business together. And by 28, we had shitloads of money. We made money, we lost money also, but that's not a story that I'm going to tell you. The point is that it took me the age of 33 to enter into an organization called Young Presidents Organization, YPO. YPO is an organization which has about 22,000 people worldwide. And together, only 22,000 people on this planet translate to $6 trillion. 6 trillion. We, if we were a country, just the 22,000 of us, we would be the third largest country in the world after US and China. So who are these members? So from India, you have Mukesh Ambani, you have Azim Premji, you have Anand Mahindra, all these guys are members. There are about 600-800 of us. How many of you had heard about YPO? Raise your hands. Not a single. It's a very, very low-key, almost kind of a secretive organization. And these 22,000 people have access to almost anything and everything. So the founder of BlackBerry, for example, is a YPO member. We joined YPO anywhere from 30 years and plus, or maybe sometimes very exceptionally, probably even at the age of 25 or 26. If your father happens to be somebody really multi-billionaire and you've probably inherited one of his companies, or you've actually set something of that scale. And what this organization did was it gave me phenomenal access to all sorts of people. You need access, you need opportunities. If you have an idea, you need to go and share it to the right people. And you need this access in a way which is palatable, which means if I'm starting out of college and I need an idea which is a small idea, I need angel investment. I can't go to a private equity firm, or I can't go to a multi-billion-dollar private equity fund. I need the right access. And that's what YPO provides for you. The right access at the right time. And then there are YPO kids. The kids of YPO members who are 18 and 25 years of age, they have access to what is known as YNG, YPO Next Generation. So you have this circle of people and their families, where their wives and the kids have access to phenomenal resources and knowledge and talent. And we learned a lot from there. There's education, there's networking. Pretty much, if I wanted to meet, like I said, one day I wanted to meet President Clinton. And I had access to him. I was with him. You think of a name and you have access. Whether it's Prince Charles or King Hussein of Jordan. What YPO also did was it helped me do a lot of social activities and things like that. People like Anna Hazare and Amir and all, we met during the Satyameva Jayate's first anniversary. We had a function together. Because all of us believe that we need to make a difference. We need to change the world in whichever way we can. My favorite hero, Mohammed Yunus, the guy who started Grameen Bank Microfinance. Wonderful man. Many, many such people one had access to from different walks of life. Oprah Winfrey, Magic Johnson, Harrison Ford, Jerry Weintraub. I remember once Jerry Weintraub, the guy who made Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13. So, you know, we were with him. And somebody asked him, how, you know, what's your secret of your success and all that stuff? And he said, you know what? When somebody says no to me, I hear maybe. It got me thinking. I used that formula when I was in college very, very effectively. For obvious reasons. If you want something, you want to chase something, you hear a no, it's a maybe. Makes life very interesting. The point is, I still had to be 33 to get access to something like this.